why you go for it again.
I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just out to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird. I'm more than a plane.
Welcome to Fourside Fights with Juggleguy, Chroma, Golden Guardians Toph, and the Crimson Blur.
All right, we don't have my camera in the middle there. It looks like I've become wheat, but that's okay. Citizens of Fourside, through Wheat's face, I am Jackzilla, and I know, number one, Blur is a werewolf. He plays better under the full moon, and I can prove it. Number two, Big House should have kept adding stars to the logo. Number three, keyboard controllers have been legal since Phantasy Star Online was released for the GameCube. And number four, this fall will have the highest viewership for Melee in terms of hours watched ever. Let's go around. I want to introduce each of our guests. Just give me a quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Will we break the fall viewership record? Juggleguy. No, thinking of no. We're going to hold the record. Toph. No, another no. Chroma.
This is insane. We're going to do it. We're going to have Ludwig bot a bunch of viewers, and that's how we're going to get it done. By any means, that is his motto. He's ready.
I don't know we were allowed to do takes yet. Chroma's
just
cheating.
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
It was 10 seconds. I don't know why they were thumbsing up. Sorry, Blur.
Oh, really? Damn it.
Yeah.
I said thumbs up, thumbs down. 10 seconds. Blur, go.
Yeah, of course we are. Melee's bigger than ever.
I love to hear it. Welcome to Fourside Fights. As with a lot of things in Melee, we're taking a tried-and-true format and making it our own. We've got 4 outstanding guests today who are going to act as pundits as I throw topic after topic at them. They'll give their takes. If they're entertaining or interesting, I'll give them points. If they are being boring or repetitive or patently unreasonable, I'll subtract points. And of course, I can mute any contestant at any time through Discord for any reason. So that requires more clicks, so it takes a little time for me to get there sometimes. The player with the most points at the end gets to be our winner, and they get to commentate the Fourside fight as the 3 losers go to Fourside and compete in a free-for-all so we can see exactly how their punditry translates into Melee. Let's get started with our first topic, Hungrybox at Riptide. He wins. H-God. Clutch. His 3rd big event win of the year, tying Zane and IBDW for the most amounts of big wins. The whispers are turning into murmurs. Is H-Box on track to be number 1 again this year? And if so, back to the whispers, is he on track to be number 1 of all time? In your opinion, what else does Hungrybox need to do to secure the GOAT title? Let's start with Juggleguy.
H-Box is not number 1 right now. That is still Zane. If you look at the distribution of majors won this year, it's pretty close between Zane, H-Box, IBW. But Zane's got that Genesis win. That should count for like 3 or 4 majors, honestly.
So 1 Genesis is the translation is 3, the currency exchange rate. Chroma, currency exchange, do you agree?
You know, I got to say, at our biggest events are our most powerful wins, though we are going into dangerous territory. If he wins Big House and then Genesis and then Big House again, or maybe the Ludwig Invitational, do we have to take this more seriously? Is number 1 that far up in the air? I say yes. If we're saying our biggest events are coming, we are in a serious danger of an H-God sweep. And if he does that and he has 1 more year of getting number 1, he might have a case for the GOAT of all time.
The GOAT of all time. Crimson Blur.
Of course he's not number 1. Zane's number 1. You have to watch Melee for 5 seconds to understand that. But here's the thing. Here's what we do at all times. H-Box spams majors and then wins 3. And we assume that's the same as the 3 that Zane won, which includes a Genesis. Since we're Gamma, Wave Dash, and Riptide at the same level, he pretty much just beat J-Mook like 8 times. That's basically what happened. And so we're going to pretend like those are the same. They're not. He can barely beat IBW. He has 1 win over Zane. His head-to-head is garbage. He's not there yet.
What do you think?
Kind of agree with Blur on this one. I gotta say, you know, it's an eye test thing to give some credit to the borrowed terminology, but I do think that with HBox, the general community take often seems to be that there are still these players that he has a really hard time with. I know there was the Gommel win on IBDW, but even though there's some shenanigans, there was the reverse pop off, all that stuff. So I think until he shows the ability to consistently beat and overcome his demons the way Zayn has with Axe, etc., with the Sheiks, I gotta say, it's gonna be tough.
But the demons aren't showing up. Like, if this is just another Mickey Mouse claim, what is H God to do?
I have to say it, and I hate to say it, and I really hate to say it. I hate to say it. We do not give HBox credit for winning some of these matches. He did lose to Zayn the last time, but he did beat Zayn. He beat IBW the last time. You can make the same argument, you know, HBox would lose to IBDW. Maybe Zayn would lose to Leffen a bunch if Leffen came more. Maybe Wizrobe really is goated with the sauce and Marth Falcon again. There are too many question marks out there right now to be that clear. And I do agree Zayn is number one, but in my heart, I still fear HBox, and that means he has a chance.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying if Leffen comes back, Zayn will do worse. You know who also do worse? HBox. HBox has gotten lucky because IBW's hands are broken for whatever reason. Is not entering for the last few months. It's literally just a small period of time where he's played J-Mook in a few brackets. I don't know how it's happening because Zayn's getting number 1 seed, but he's getting the hardest bracket every time. He's literally getting Sheiks and Pikachu every single tournament, even though he's the 1st seed. So we're seeing the 3rd seed get better brackets than the 1st seed, and a little bit of, you know, randomness happen.
Let's go to the second topic.
I will also add, I'd like to throw in on this note.
No, go ahead, Toe first.
Yeah, okay. I just want to point out that I think that, you know, something people talk about Zayn's demons. You got to remember, every single time Zayn was like those two reverse sweeps at Gommel, there were 2 reverse 3-0s where he was playing J-Mook and was like, man, J-Mook seems like he's really figured Zayn out, but like a lot more of those sets end up being close, whereas we see the bad side of HBox, the deflated box, where he looked really like physically out of it. Like we see that a lot more often than Zayn looking bad. And so I sort of feel that, yeah, you're right. HBox has these high highs, but his lows look a lot lower right now.
All right,
Rob, last thoughts on the topic.
HBox's ranking is inflated by his pop-off volume and his pop-off frequency. Okay, why is this why did you name the segment "Is HBox number 1"? It should be named "Is Zayn number 1"? Okay.
All right, I guess that's true. To ask a question implies that the alternative is the status quo. All right, that does kind of bring in, there's something that Blur said. These brackets are hard. That hardness implies some opinions, some assumptions that I want to interrogate, okay? With Zayn's 2 wins over Axe, have we delayed Melee's collapse into a Fox Marth Pika RPS for another 5 years? Are the Marth beats Pikachu believers finally vindicated or not? Let's start with the Crimson Blur.
Pikachu at this moment, with the way it's played, still beats Marth. And here's the reason why. Zayn's ranked 30 placings above Axe in the last ranking. Last I checked, right? We're seeing a better player win. And matter of fact, Zayn's actually better at the matchup. We all talk about how good Axe is in the matchup. Are you guys watching the Melee? Zayn's cracked in the matchup. He had to do everything in his power to learn that matchup. In fact, to the detriment of his other matchups. Now he's losing to other people. So I think until we see more, these are 2 Game 5 sets. This is way too close to call. Axe is still like 110-2 against the Marths. It's way too early.
I actually sort of disagree on your point about him being inherently better at the matchup. For example, the first time he beat Axe at Shine, he self-admittedly was dropping a shitload of his down tilt into forward smash setup that when he's playing really good against, for example, Swift on stream, he hits that every time. So he actually, yeah, he's really good at the matchup, you know, in his general game plan, but that doesn't necessarily mean that on any given day, he's automatically playing the matchup better than Axe is. Just want to throw that out there.
Chroma, Rob, do we accept this?
No, Marth does not beat Pikachu. I do not care about theory. I care more about the empirical data. It took the best player in the world 10 tries to beat Axe, and I believe he was the best player in the world already for at least half of those. And when he does it, the match is still going to last game, last stock. So I don't want to hear about the theory. That's stupid. No, Pikachu's still beating Marth.
All right, I hear it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic.
Oh, hey, I'm still here.
Do you have something? You were quiet before.
I was
Are you
being
chirping
polite.
now?
I was being polite. I was hoping I would get
yes, yeah.
You should get a politeness point.
She should get a politeness. No, I subtract
there are
points
no
for politeness on
points
this
here.
show.
Rough.
Damn.
Sorry.
All right. So I don't want to be the guy that say that the character that doesn't get juggled, edgeguards Marth, does everything possible to murder this character, is super fast, has amazing combos, could possibly lose to Marth. So I will go another way and say Marth matchups are unknowable. And Pika matchups are unknowable. When Marth is winning, the juggles look good. Maybe it doesn't matter how much you directly combo or Shark or Edgeguard, but Zane has found a way to do all those things. And it looks like you can't get in. This is also what it looks like when Axe loses to some of the Foxes recently. When Zuppy's hot or when Pipsqueak's hot, and I'm going to stop naming box Foxes, the zoning looks immaculate. And it doesn't look like there's much Axe can do, which is weird when you see him play Lod and you see him play all the Peaches, and all of a sudden this matchup is somehow doable. We are in a world where nothing makes any sense anymore. I still don't believe it when, when Swift BMs Logan and says the matchup's even.
You know, I liked your take at first, but then I don't think you stuck the landing there. It's unknowable, Marth?
I wanted to ask,
Theory.
20 years
Theory.
in, we don't know any matchups.
Chroma goes on a hot take shows and says, "I don't know" for like 5 minutes. That's
All right.
so sick,
I don't
brother.
know.
We must admit
That's
this.
right. That's
That
right.
takes some
All right.
points off.
Next
Sure.
topic, event schedules, okay? Event schedules. There's no exact science, and maybe it is unknowable on this one, to figuring out exactly which parts of an event to stream. Please, Foursiders, put on your content-brained hats. Do any events do their streaming schedules well, like objectively the best of the best? Should we have round 1 pool stream? Should Sunday doubles, which has been seemingly murdered in its sleep, be brought back? What's working well? What needs to change? Juggleguy, start us off.
Okay, I will say yes, doubles top 8 or at least doubles top 4 deserves a time slot at least on Saturday, away from the the abyss that is Friday stream viewership. But my take is, for singles pools, I would rather watch Mango or Zane 4-stock a baddie on stream than watch 2 fringe top 100 players fight like a spaghetti fest. I don't mind listening to Blur, Scar, Slime, Toph, whoever riff on some adjacent topic and make fun of the people playing while Mango's 4-stocking some dude. That's day
You
one.
think the commentary podcast is more entertaining than doubles?
I'm into that.
I cannot, as much as I appreciate commentary, I cannot agree with that. Those top 100 versus top 100, that's where Melee gets made. That's where legends rise. That's where you see Wally fight people. Wally Zane, I guess, falls into both. Zane, a lower-seeded player, got the chance to play Wally on stream, and I think that's important. The first time he didn't get the upset, the second time he made it happen, and that's what happens when we stream it. The problem with stream schedules, you can't make everybody happy. Players want to be able to come in Saturday, but they also want to play doubles, but they also don't want to play doubles the whole day. But they also want to not go singles, doubles on Saturday. But you need to hit your stream numbers. But you need to have interesting matches, and you need to have enough commentary. You also need Sunday to be a thing, and you have to watch on Friday, but you can't watch on Friday. I really do like what a lot of the did a good job. Riptide did a good job. The only thing we can improve on is keeping top players in tiny cages and forcing exhibition matches on Friday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Any responses? What do we got?
I can add on to that.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you, Blur. First of all, fringe top 100 more players, more like cringe top 100 players. So I think something that I'd like to address first is the doubles thing, and I think you're totally right, Robin. Something you said that I really want to echo is, like, having commentated a good bit of doubles myself, it is way more fun, and I think everyone feels this when the team combos are flowing. The best example, of course, is if like Pewfat's on screen. That is a lot more fun to watch than even doubles top 32. And I really would like to say that I think people remember a lot of boring experiences watching doubles, but they're not. But then they're like, but Pewfat was dope, and Armada Android was dope. And so, like, I think there's definitely a world where you could take doubles top 4 or even top 8 and really elevate that, and you could put that Saturday night, you could put that arguably even Sunday. And I think that people would actually largely be okay with that, because when people remember doubles being boring, they're not thinking of the last part of the bracket generally. And outside of that, on the singles thing, and in terms of like things that recent majors and majors across time have done well, once again, I actually got to give some credit to Rob, because I think that a schedule back when I was entering more, and even probably like I was more of a player than I'd ever been, was like when I was going to, like, for example, Big House like 4, 5, 6. And I remember a good number of those would run like the top 64 starting Sunday morning, or like even kind of late Sunday. And I think that struck a really, to me, happy balance between what I think are having a little bit more of now, because there's this experimental thing going on where top players are having to, like,
I gotta cut you off. Crimson Blur, you had something to say. It's time to go.
Go ahead.
You asked Jackzilla if any tournament organizer knows how to make a schedule. There
There
are
we go.
2 tournament organizers that know how to make a schedule. The Crimson Blur 5 years ago, and Juggleguy when he asked the Crimson Blur for advice.
Oh,
Which he
there it
recently
is.
to
There it
which
is.
he recently to his credit has done. It's garbage. Our TOs are garbage. We need to actually understand that on a fundamental level. If Papa John himself, in his sweaty glory, walked into the venue at Riptide on Friday, he would have walked out and taken his money. He would have taken the banners, he would have walked out. No one was there. Friday doubles is killing the scene. It's cancerous for our growth. I would rather they not play doubles, and I'm a doubles lover, than have this aberration, this actual disgrace to the art of doubles. That is Friday doubles where no one cares and no one's in the venue. I went to Cedar Point instead of commentating it. I said, get me off commentary. I don't want to see a second of this. I'm disgusted by our tournament organizers, and we can do so much better.
All right.
There we have it.
Any responses to that, or are we gonna let that fire just kind of lay on the
I'm
ground?
just gonna
I do
take that,
respect-
it's true.
It's
I
true.
do respect Blur's highs and his lows as far as this goes. And
All
the only
right.
reason I bring this up is because I brought my girlfriend to the SoCal Arcadian,
Mhm.
and pools were delayed. And this is, I guess, where Blur's talking from. We tried to run crews, and these crews were actually fantastic and interesting, and we had a great time playing them. The problem is that they took until about 10 o'clock, and I think singles bracket started at about 11 p.m. And my girlfriend, I cannot believe that she didn't break up with me. She lives in my house right now today, so I take it all back. That tournament was goated, and nothing bad happened.
There you go.
All right. Fair enough. Let's move on to the next topic, kind of following in the Blur's footsteps here. At the end of last year, the Crimson Blur recruited me, Jackzilla, among others, to both act as his project manager because he was a bad project manager, and as the panel for his combined online plus offline rankings. One of the questions that motivated the project was, what does it mean for Panda Gaming, Panda Global, to be the lead in rankings right now? Is it good to have a multi-esport game take a central role, or were we better off with the rugged individualism of MeleeItOnMe rankings? Are there other roads not taken that we should consider when it comes to rankings? Let's start with Chroma.
There's some good and bad with Panda running it. Bad, we can't mention Slippy, which is a real shame. You are stuck with that sort of business where you have to not tell Nintendo, but tell Nintendo, and I think that's choking the scene in a lot of ways, and it's causing a lot of issues. A pro of them running it, they pay me money sometimes to write the blurbs, which I think is good, getting money into the scene, very, very blatantly helping me and other people who write things, getting people who take the pictures paid. And also, everyone yells at Panda when things are bad, which rules. It's great for that happening, though it didn't really work this time. Everyone still yelled at the panelists. So,
I was gonna say I don't really feel like Panda ever really gets the blame. I
They
think
should.
bad largely. I think on the money point, that's a good point. But for example, back when TAFO owned the rankings, or MIOM owned the rankings, you can sell those. It doesn't have to be an esports team that does that. But of course, in general, getting people paid is good. And I ultimately really do land on the side of even in the old scene, they've got Orion Rank. I don't know if you guys have checked out Orion Rank. That's a project that is run at a smaller scope in terms of the individuals that are running it than Panda. But I think it's a more comprehensive ranking. They attempt to bridge the different continents in a way that the official PGR doesn't. I think it's actually a more interesting ranking. No shade on Panda. I think Panda's a wonderful organization.
Yeah, so I think the Panda MPGR is fine, but it needs to be crystal clear on what is being represented. When Mango got ranked 11th, I believe, I don't think anyone in their right mind thought Mango is the 11th best player, or he's the 11th most likely player to win major. All right, and if they did, they're crazy because he's very obviously better than that. But his resume in a 2022 vacuum represented the 11th best body of work. So let's say that maybe we need a different term: rankings in a 2022 vacuum and rankings on a rolling basis. I think we need two different things.
I want to push back here. You think adding some kind of legalistic language is going to stop people from misinterpreting it?
Maybe not, but we need to differentiate and try at least.
I think this is less of a Panda thing and that how people perceive the rankings. I think even on my side, I'm very clear. This is how you did in this period. even not really thinking about anything going past, though from a Bayesian perspective, you can infer that Mango should do better than 11th if you think about it. But that's how he did. So
Bayesian
you do it.
perspective.
Oh my God, you should like that. That is 100%
Nerd.
to you.
Nerd.
Boo. All right, but to go back to it, what annoys me is that when I make these rankings and I say, well, Mango wouldn't be seeded 11th right now, but he did 11th, and then events go ahead and use that as seeding. And people talk about it like it's seeding. And I'm telling you, as explicit as we're trying to be about it, it's still an issue with the perception. And I worry that that's, no matter who's running it, it's always
Ranking should not be the same as seeding.
100%.
absolutely not.
Look, here's the thing, right? We talk about how, you know, Panda's working with Nintendo, so we can't count online. That already should disqualify them from the conversation. Also, I think the fact of being a TO and potentially having some bias to you, but by being an organizer and being so involved in other parts of the space, make it really tough to be there. But really, there's actually one core issue that's beyond everything else, which is Panda as a company. I like them in a lot of ways, but maybe their worst quality is their lack of communication with the community. For their tour, they posted one tweet and then didn't tell anyone for a year. Their controller, it's been like 8 months. You're telling me the supply chain's blocked up for like 8 months? No. So their lack of communication is their core problem. They need like a community manager. Get someone in there, right, to write some tweets, make some noise. And so when you ask about the confusion, about the lack of real storylining that's being made through this, and actually the wrong storylining that's being made, that's the number one problem I see. I don't think this ranking's ever going to really work out if you're just like putting it out and then forgetting about it every year. It's
So
not the
why
same.
did you make a Blur rank, and have you followed up on it at all? Have you done a where are Blur ranks now? Who's your content manager?
Look, if Jackzilla does half the work next time, I will 100% do another one. I'm super down. And I'm also down to move away from subjective rank because subjective rank is trash. Because apparently, no matter what criteria we give everyone, someone can enter 3 tournaments for like a year and they still get top 5 regardless, you know, of anything else. That seems to be happening every time. That happens every time.
Toph,
Are you talking about 11? Is he talking about 11?
I'm muting the Crimson Blur.
Okay, sorry.
I think we have to realize there were a lot of things going on this year that were irregular. For example, COVID, which is still messing with the supply chains and also messing with when people can attend tournaments. I'm going to say that I like PTAS, and I'm going to preface this very hot take with saying PTAS, I've never had an issue with the way that he runs things, and I think that he's got everyone's good interest at heart. But it makes me uncomfortable when Panda IBDW started saying for the Panda rankings which tournaments should or shouldn't count, possibly influenced by things that Panda's player thinks would maybe be more representative of his ranking. When he started talking about regionals that he didn't do well at, not counting, and he's a Panda player, that was worrying to me. I did not enjoy that. That was not fun, and I think it's an issue with the system, but I guess there's always some propriety claims with this. People used to say that Miam was West Coasted bias or something like that.
West
which
Coast
is
Nami.
Nami.
West Coast
Dude,
Nami,
West Coast
that's
Nami.
right.
I was
Toph,
the token Midwest.
Where's the Golden Guardians rank?
I know, dude. I think I can't answer this question.
Leak exclusive?
Oh,
I can't answer
Give us
this
an.
Is this a scoop?
All right.
I actually cannot answer this question. I got some spicy stories for you later, though.
All right, I hear you. All right, let's move on to the next topic. That's we almost got the exclusive, and whoever gives us any exclusives, you will be given points. I want that to be very, very clear. If you break any news on this platform, we're ready to go. Speaking of which, today is the last day to sign up for the Big House. Please sign up for the Big House. I want to ask this group an open-ended philosophical question. Okay, who is the worst Melee player of all time, and not just some casual who dedicated a few hours to it. I'm talking of players who we know, who tried to be great but are bad.
All right.
You can, of course, change the names of the players to protect their egos and identities.
No. I'm the preempt guy here. All right.
Is the question who's the worst player of all time? Is that the
That's
question?
right. Juggle Rob. I'm muting the Crimson Blur.
The worst
Juggleguy.
player is someone who's been playing the game the longest without showing any signs of improvement, even signs of regression. For example, the Crimson Blur did better at MLG DC 2005 than he did at Smash Camp 2022. Or it's somebody who talks up their game so brazenly and yet takes an ass whooping so bad, it is incomprehensible it was the same person who was speaking a moment ago. Funnily enough, this also describes Blur.
I will defend Blur.
Go ahead, Chroma, you do it first.
Okay, first of all, 2005 was easier. I am told stories of Falcos who played back then to beat Core at the first tournament because they didn't know how pillars worked really at the time. That's not regression. Second of all, I have seen some amazing things from Blur. I've seen the SoCal Arcadian. He destroyed East Coast Jeff. I watched it. Sometimes we have to take a step back. Does Blur watch his videos? No. Does he do targeted improvement with practice? No.
No.
Does he enter a lot of tournaments? No. Did he pay his air venue fee? No. But nobody who has the spirit of Melee in them is the worst player. My nomination would have been one of the guys that lived in the Smash House. Was not very good, but he was there and he played with us every so often, and occasionally there would be a ranked player from another region who would stay at the house and would get the hands run by our friend. Because the spirit of Melee just picked up through him at that moment.
That's sick. And he never entered, but sometimes he would
Oh,
be...
he always went 0-2.
I agree.
This guy is me. I like him.
I agree that it can be Blur. It can be Blur, and I hate to be live and not like I hate to be on a camera and give Blur compliments, but Blur's not that bad. I have said in the past, and I will say again that if you take you could take an average Blur set and you could take a 5-second slice where Blur does like some good shit. You're like, oh shit, this mark is like moving. And I mean, there's definitely players where that is just not true. Like, there are definitely players where you cannot find moments that they look good. Dude, I hate to do this, dude. My nomination is, I don't know how many of you guys remember KO Star, who was in my original crew back in the day. More known for arguing about the Mewtwo Zelda matchup on Smash boards than probably anything else. A lovable and really, truly awesome guy. Beloved figure in the Washington Melee community. So I hate to do this. But if Vish hears this, he will just be nodding his head so hard. We were all basically same year at University of Washington. And that guy just had the wrong ideas about the game. Like, he basically was like, Mewtwo King at the start wanted to make Mewtwo work. He just never got, he never got over, like, the idea that Mewtwo could be bad, and he didn't fundamentally understand,
there's definitely a lot of bait in low tiers and mid tier mains to be the answer to this question.
Oh god, yeah. There's so much copium. Blur can commentate a Melee set and he'll sound like he knows what he's talking about, because in general, I think he does.
I love it. I love these people.
That is not the case for KO Star, I think.
Look, I'm going to refute Toph's
At least back then.
I'm going to refute Toph's point. I am in fact the worst player of all time.
Oh my god.
I did not see this coming.
I will gladly take the mantle. Because, as you guys know, Caterpie's my favorite Pokemon. Who's cooler? When Zapdos goes up against a Caterpie, or Caterpie when it goes up against Zapdos? Because let me tell you something. When the storyline flips around and Prime Blur cometh, it won't be so fucking funny. I'll be turning into a beautiful butterfly, and I'll be kicking this scene by the horns.
Bro,
I still believe in myself, even if no one else does.
Butterfree still sucks.
Toph, the issue with your point is Blur thinks he's the best player in the world, so he represents he thinks he has pocket aces when he's always holding a 7-2 offsuit. He has the biggest gap between perceived skill level and actual skill level of any Melee player in history, and that's why he's the worst player in the world.
You would too if you saw me on Unranked at 4 a.m. If you saw me on Unranked
I
at 4
have
a.m.
seen Blur on Unranked at 4 p.m. He gave me all of his VODs so that I could analyze it for his set versus Slime.
Blur, you
watched
think you're the best
his
player
4
in the
a.m.
world.
sets.
You're not even the second best brown MDVA raised smasher who mains Marth.
There's some good ones, to be
That's
fair. There's Zayn and Ahmad. Like, that's not even a bad thing.
Oh, Rishi, of course.
A lot of
And
them.
Rishi.
Yeah. Damn. That's Blur.
I guess my only counterpoint is I have run into Blur at 4 a.m. and I wasn't particularly impressed, but I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah. I have to say, watching the VODs, I was like, the one thing I took away is Blur is really good about punishing Falcon side B, and the one advice Slime got from Josh Man before their set was, oh, just side B him. And it did not work.
Spacey side B and Falco side B, I eat those up. Anyone who side B's into me, it's a bad time.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. I'm starting to feel sad about J-Mook. I still believe that he's going to bring home gold, but I feel like he and other top players would benefit from dual maining, okay?
Ooh.
Of the, let's say, top 10 right now in general, who would benefit the most from dual maining in your opinion? Let's start with Juggle Rob.
I think with very few exceptions, focusing on one character is still better because, okay, sure, maybe if you're an Icy's main, you switch versus Peach, fine. But almost every other high tier character has the tools to deal with their matchups. I think the one, maybe Axe, okay, I'm going to say Axe could benefit the most from it to deal with certain H boxes of the world. But everybody else, I think there's a ton of experiential value in labbing out a hard matchup and getting really precise with your micro interactions that you figure out the player versus player matchup a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's not just interactions. I think a good bit of it is mindset and mentality. I think it's hard. It is hard to juggle two mains, even at like my level. Like when I was first getting to the top, a lot of people don't know this. When I was getting into the top 100, I was just fresh off of dropping Falco as a secondary. I was dual maining back then, and it's really really hard. I think to like have that. I mean, we've seen it, and we've seen. I think a good counterexample here would be like think about all the times you've seen Plup go like Fox, and you're like, yeah, it's a better character matchup, but Plup, you gotta go shit. You know what I mean? You I know you guys have all had this thought. It's so common where it's like, dude, yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah, Sheik is hard. It's a hard matchup, but bro, your Sheik is so good. Your Sheik would win, and then he like goes Fox against Magi, and like it's like So I think that's something that you have to juggle, and I think that the you can make an argument for Zayn, but I think even for Zayn, you got to do some specific like matchup prep. Like I think that for someone like him, you're like, I don't know, let's say I'm going Fox for Puff on Dreamland, and I'm going Fox for Sheik on whatever, and like you're very rigorous.
You have to have a focused plan.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Chroma, Blur, what do you think?
I think the answer is definitely not Zayn because I think Marth's too hard to have a second character and do
Really?
well. Yeah, it's not gonna happen for him. Not in the same way. Now, I think also that Axe was not the correct answer either because I just saw him 3-0 Lot. So last I checked, Axe is doing great against the floaties recently. Sometimes he actually struggles against the matchups he should win. Like we just saw him lose to Marth. Sometimes he loses to Spaceys, and that's not really on his character. I think so. I think in some ways he's doing fine. I think the guy who would actually benefit the most is Jmook, ultimately. And that's because his Fox is good. The Genesis game would lead everyone astray. I have seen Jmook's Fox against top players, and he does well. He does well right now.
It would not be the first time that somebody got to Genesis Grands and pulled out a Fox that was deceptively weaker than it should have been.
Right. It's the Armada. It's the Armada.
I think I said that on commentary, in fact.
Right
I think
now,
he did.
I'm
Actually.
talking about right
Yeah.
now, without him really putting in the time to get it tournament ready, to get it major ready, his Fox as well. Like right now, I've seen so many games I've spec of him playing his Fox, and I think right now his Fox would probably do better certain matchups. That level.
So let me zoom out. Sheik has not won a major by most definitions since something like 2004 or 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that inherent to the character? To me, to Juggle Rob's point earlier about look at the evidence, nearly 20 years of failure is not good. And a lot of people have tried. Is Sheik unsolo mainable in modern Melee? Unless you get a fluke.
I disagree. I think that Jmook has been handed the toughest battles. He clearly is able to beat everyone. It's just putting it all together. The issue is that the Sheiks that we have are also dual mainers. And I do think that right now solo maining is very, very viable. We're seeing HBox do better against the field than we've maybe seen him do in a long time. We've seen Zayn beat Falcons, beat Pikachu, beat Yoshi, beat all these really annoying characters. I will say the one person who I truly believe is built different, is maybe outside the top 10 formally right now, but is almost there in skill, is Johnny. I have watched Johnny's other characters, Fox, Falco, Sheik. I truly believe that there is some Saul level potential to just bust out a bunch of characters and just do whatever in matchups where he does not perform very well. He got closest to beating Plup that I've seen him versus not Samus ever. Almost ever, basically.
Yeah, actually, fun fact, he'd never taken Plup's Sheik to Game 5. He was like 0-10.
Yeah.
Never went to Game 5 until this past weekend.
I think
Is Despereaux the best Falcon right now?
It's Match Factor. Wizzy did better.
It's Wizzy.
It's still Wizzy.
Unfortunately, the moment he picks up a controller, Wizzy's better.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no!
So he does.
But he's not picking up a controller.
Johnny and Nutter's so good, but think about it for like 1 second. Dude, it's fucking Wizzy, bro.
All right, there's one thing I want to touch on it before we move on to our final topic. I think I feel like I want somebody to take this bet. You come back on the show. I'm putting 20 points starting up for grabs for anybody who can make a compelling case for why Zane should go Puff. And if you could do it right now tonight and not even take the bet, I'll give you 10 points on the spot.
Oh shit.
Defend why Zane should go Puff in some matchups.
Zane should go Puff versus Leffen because Leffen is not in a Sheik Puff, and it's really annoying. And Zane is very, very good at finding psycho ways to convert that will terrorize Leffen on specific stages. Dreamland, it's Puff time. This is the part where dual mating is very valuable. Stage-based counter picks. And just to make people think, oh, I don't even want to go Sheik because I possibly have to deal with that Puff. It's kind of like when people would try and counterpick Chu, and then Chu would bust out some other wild character and make you feel terrible about yourself.
All right, so the counter pick meta, the counter to the counter.
I don't want it to happen
Mark.
because I think solo maining is cooler. I've always liked people who stick and play these hard matchups. I just find it more entertaining as a spectator. Having said that, Zane might right now have the best rest of any Puff. He hits rest of Xbox, does not. And that's right now without being tournament ready. How long would it take him to learn how to back air degenerately Sheik? I don't know if it would take him that long. Maybe a little bit of time, but not that long. Jamu's getting better at the matchup. The others are getting better at the matchup. But what happens with Marth very often is you spend so much time learning Yoshi, learning Pikachu, learning these weird matchups, that then you just get blindsided by the Sheik, or you get blindsided by the other matchups you haven't been practicing as much, and that's what's been biting him. Dreamland in particular is a big problem, and it's always going to be a problem against Sheik. I don't want to see it, but I could see it being a feasible strategy.
And Falcon.
And Falcon.
Yeah, the way, in my mind, the way you do it, my favorite dual mainer or person who's experimented with counter pick strategies of all time was the way Drug Fox. I don't know if you guys know this. Drug Fox used to have a very specific way, not just that he would pick Marth, but that he would practice Marth. He would only, because he basically acknowledged that this is when he was going Sheik, and he would go Marth FD against Spaces as a counter pick. And because he would only be able to play Marth in the middle of a tournament set as a counter pick character, he would start every friendly session with this homie who played Fox. He would play 3 games, I think it was 2 or 3 games of Marth against Fox on FD, not warmed up, 0 warm up, and then he would go straight Sheik for the rest of the session, because as soon as that Marth got warmed up, there was no value to it anymore. And so I think that's the way you got to do it. I think Zane, for what it's worth, could implement something like this for specific stages. I also think Zane has this weird, I don't know if you guys have talked to him recently about it. Zane's got this weird fucked up love for Jigglypuff. Like, we were recording some GG content. Dude, no, like we were basically spinning the wheel. We had to pick a random character, right? To like go for certain combo challenges. And every time he got Puff, he got like weirdly excited. And I'm like, bro, you were it's like he actually really likes the character. And I think that is an important part of the recipe. You got to actually jive with the fucking character you're trying to use as a counter pick.
I believe that
does.
I believe manning Puff is like loving accounting. If you love accounting, you have to be an accountant. You just don't have a choice anymore. Make your money, do your thing. It's the needed, necessary position. This is we need more Puffs. So pick up the sword. Prove that this character is great, or not the sword. Put down the sword. Pick up the balloon. All right. Last topic of the night, unless we need tiebreakers. Before we go into our Fourside fight, Blur, far and away the leader. There is some room for him to catastrophically collapse, as we've all seen many times. Let's get into this last topic. As we have with us some extremely high-ranked GRIME PR members, I want to ask you all as experts, what is the grimiest act ever done in the Smash community, but no actual illegal shit? I'm going to ask you to exercise your judgment on the difference between grime and, like, please never see me again. Anybody can take it.
I got a story that Juggleguy might remember that I would love. That I don't know if this ever made it onto the Michigan GRIME PR, because these are all Michigan players involved. CEO 2016, okay?
Is this exclusive?
Kalamazoo versus KJH. Well, Juggleguy knows the story because he was there. And it's game 3. It's game 3, and it's Found in Dreams. And it's Fox Peach and KJH. Basically, you know, Peach is like floating off stage and he gets the shine or whatever, and then Peach has to go into her umbrella and gently fall, and then Clenny grabs the ledge, and that's it. All you got to do is just, if you're on the ledge, Peach isn't going to be able to grab, she's going to have to float gently down to her doom, and the set's over. And as this is happening, you know, Kalamazoo's like, you got me. He reaches his hand out. Maybe it's a fist bump. And he basically goes like this to Kalindi. This is off stream. He's just sitting next to him. And KJH goes, "Oh, handshake," and shakes Kalamazoo's hand. In doing so, God, I can't believe this. This is such a crazy moment. It's funny because it's Kyle, but anyway, in doing so, he fails KJH because he's shaking Kalamazoo's hand. He fails to hit the R button, and Peach hovers with her umbrella over the ledge for just long enough that it clips Fox, and he starts falling off the ledge and starts falling to his doom. And Peach grabs the ledge, and Keizu goes, "Oh," and climbs up and fucking like down smashes KJH as he's trying to recover from shaking Kalamazoo's hand instead of rolling
Is the
up.
same Keizu who tried to sweat me for letting Michael win the timeout at full bloom?
Yeah.
Oh
Same
my
same guy.
God.
Yeah, you might know him very well. Well, I saw the whole thing go down, and I was like, "Oh, hell the fuck no. That's not no. Like, fuck no." So I was like, and there was a little bit of a dispute, and Kyle was like, "Well, you had to roll up. I mean, you shouldn't have been distracted by my handshake." And KJ was like, "You guys know Kalindi." He was like, "Bro, what the fuck?" Like, so I was like, the only thing we could do, Rob wasn't even a TO at this event. Rob was just, you were just there, I think, because the CEO is Florida. And I was like, well, you're both Michigan. We've got a very seasoned TO over here who's the only person I know that knows how to handle this situation because he's seen many of these Michigan-based crime events. And he's made these sorts of calls, I'm sure, in the past. So I called Juggleguy over, and we debated it for a while. We gave the win to KJH because I think there's a precedent. If I remember correctly, the logic was there's a precedent in StarCraft. There's a precedent in StarCraft where if you type GG, that is a resignation. And so on all of our minds, it was and Kalamazoo ended up admitting this. He's like, "Well, I did extend the hand. I basically said, hey, good game, set's over." And because he made a gesture of resignation, we gave it to KJH, and Kalamazoo eventually buckled, and he said, "Okay, fine. Kalindi wins."
Takes a little bit away from the grime that he received.
But it was
any stories that can top that? We've got only 5 minutes left. That's a grimy one.
It was grimy in the fucking moment, bro.
It's true. That is pretty high.
It was losers bracket too.
And it's my good friend.
Okay,
it's my good friend, Chudat to me. I think it's Apex 2010 or something like that.
This is a good one.
So I'd taken a bit of a break from Melee around that time. And I was coming back, and I was like, "Oh, there's an Apex coming up. I hear that's a big tournament." I hadn't known quite yet how bad those tournaments were. But I was like looking around. I was like, "Oh, does anyone want to share a hotel room, whatever?" And Chudat's like, "Don't worry, Blur. I got you. Stay in my room. Perfect plan." I room with Chudat. What could go wrong? I drive up there, and I show up to this hotel room. Right outside the room, Chew's like, "Oh, here you go, Blur." He opens up the room, and what do I see? 30 other smashers in the room. I swear to you, there's 30 other people he had also told could stay in his room, unbeknownst to, I'm pretty sure most of them, that there were 30 other people in the room. We thought we were all rooming with Chew at. So I looked at this, and I was like, "Chew, how much do I owe you for the room?" And of course, he was like, "Oh, it's like $20. So 20 times 30, you tell me, does the hotel room cost that much?" I ended up sleeping in my car that night. I ended up sleeping in my car that night, and then because I couldn't get another room, there was the rooms were booked out. It was too late at night at that point, and I had to find a new room the next day, and it ruined my Apex. So I'm gonna go with that one. I love Chew, and he didn't mean anything by it.
That was landlord behavior. That was
landlord behavior.
Yeah,
That was
for
$2 electricity behavior, in my opinion.
That's Ganondorf culture right there. Chroma and Juggleguy. You got any Chroma?
Oh. Yeah, okay, so this is a seeding one with an not to be named top player who I noticed that in the bracket he would be playing in Ice Climbers and said, I really just don't think the seeding is right. I don't think that it's lined up correctly. I think that I should have this seeding and that seeding. And we asked, okay, why? And he's like, well, I think Mango's bracket is easier. And we're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I don't think I'm going to come to the tournament if this bracket looks like this.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's based. Juggleguy.
Yeah. Okay. So
you get a bunch of points if you say who the player is, by the way. But
True. I'll give you. Do I want to put you pressure? Yeah, I want to put the pressure on Chroma. 15 points. Name them. Is this that kind of show?
It's that kind of show.
That's your call, Chroma. The co-producer.
This doesn't leave. This doesn't leave in the stream chat.
Let's do it. They won't.
It leaves. It goes on YouTube. It gets 4K viewers. Easy.
YouTube. It does it YouTube. And all Fourside viewers and audio listeners.
Yeah. No snitches.
Somebody in chat guessed it.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's leave it at
well,
that.
yeah, but it's
I don't
definitely
look
one
at
of those.
chat. I'm not looking at chat. Chat has their
Well,
own
what-
Wait,
conversation.
wait,
video
what
will
character?
also
What
not
character
have
did
chat.
Chroma say? What character did Chroma say?
It was Ice Climbers.
Oh, there's like 5 options.
Yeah.
Does narrow it down.
Okay, if we guess, is it Chew?
It's not you.
No.
it-
Ice climbers are the enemy. Like they're the person they didn't want to fight.
Oh,
Or is that what you meant? Is that what you meant, Chroma?
Yes, it is.
That's how
That is
I
what I
interpreted
meant.
your story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
oh, I see.
In the end, I believe it was resolved through some timely upsets.
Oh, it's a Mewtwo King. It's Mewtwo King.
Could have been.
Yeah, it could have been
It's
Mewtwo.
easy.
All right.
Well,
all
we'll never
right.
know.
All right.
We'll
Go to
never
Juggleguy.
know.
Go to
It's
We'll
Juggleguy.
never
Mewtwo King.
know.
It's Mewtwo King.
This
It's
cowardly
Mewtwo King.
behavior must be punished.
It's Mewtwo King.
Juggleguy.
Okay.
Please, bring
Definitely
us
not
home.
the grimiest, but one of the funniest I can remember is this also involves KJH, by the way. Back in the day when we did Melee Arcadians, we had this tradition in Michigan to do draft crews where the PR players came in and they were the captains of draft crews, and we would pick from like a Google spreadsheet of the people involved for our team. So KJH was one of the captains, and Fendi at the time, he was kind of an up and coming like player. People said he might win the Arcadian.
I know this one.
And KJH picked Fendi, I want to say 7th overall in this like fantasy style draft of the crews. And we had 32 players in the overall pool. So, okay, he gets picked 7th overall. But we had this, KJH had this idea, this sicko idea to fuck with Fendi and take Fendi's name off of the Google Doc and pretend like we went through all 32 players and never picked him between the 4 captains. So we
my
took his name
God.
off, and then casually we just dropped the results of the draft crew into the Michigan Melee Facebook group. And Fendi was very, very upset.
You guys hurt that man. You hurt my friend with
That was
your
a Joker
bullying.
Wow.
He
That's a
was,
Joker moment.
he was-
That's sad. No, this makes me too sad. This is, but it's grimy. Do I give points? Do I take
It's
them for how
really
sad I
And
feel?
I'm gonna be
it's
honest.
funny.
I have
I'm
to
torn.
be
I
very
did ask.
transparent here. KJ's thought of this idea. I thought it was genius, and I absolutely was supportive of
You
it
were the
whole
grimy
way.
one.
I enabled it. I was one of the other captains.
All right, I'm taking points off. You can't do that. There has to be justice. I baited out of you. Minus points for Juggleguy for hurting my friend's feelings years ago. How dare you?
Love you,
Our
Fendi.
last topic before we go to the Fourside fight. I don't see how Blur is gonna avoid winning this with the lead, but I want to give you all one last chance to impress me to save yourself from elimination. Let's go for it. It is. What should be my NETPLAY tag for the next 2 weeks? Let's start with Juggleguy.
Should be Coco.
Coco?
Yes,
C-O-C-O?
because you at this point in your career, you're not a player, you're not a TO, you're barely a commentator, so you represent.
This guy's
Oh.
doubling down. I'm
Oh,
muting him.
yeah.
Screw this
Someone
guy.
out swinging. I
Get
respect
out
it.
of here.
respect it.
Crimson Blur. The Crimson Blur.
I almost want to pass, so I let someone pass. Someone beat me.
You're out of here. I'm
I'm trying to
taking
beat
3
them in
points. Not
Fourside.
fast on your feet. Not fast
Trying-
on your
I'm
feet.
trying to beat them in four.
Toph.
I'll pick something topical, something that I've been endlessly entertained by lately. How about
I'm at
GM
69.
Han? How about GM Hans Niemann?
GM
Wow.
Hans Demon. Is this a
Wow,
reference
wow,
on that?
wow.
Respect.
Am I uncultured for not knowing what that is?
There's been a okay. Well,
Oh, shoot, for chest
There's
chest
been a
guy,
cheating-
chest cheater with the
yes,
anal
there's
beads.
been a-
Yeah. I like
well, there
that.
we go.
Jack,
There we go.
We're
You
gonna
get it,
make
yep.
you enter the next Melee tournament bare naked to make sure you're
That's
not
right.
bringing any cheating devices into the
Yep.
venue.
I would
Yep.
love a phobe that goes up my butt. All right, Chroma.
Now,
Hold on.
Jack.
Hey, that's a sub notification if anyone.
That's a good one. Jack,
I
I
got
think
one.
about I think about current events, and I think about something that you said, which really resonated with me. As I watch the Queen's passing, and they shut down every event, and you can't go to the hospital, and you don't really have free speech there. Everything's kind of terrible if you're an Australian player, and you had the Governor General basically take over the Labour Party in like 1970 something or something like that. And yet, if you say anything bad about the Queen, you have to go to sensitivity training, or you get 25% of your salary taken away. I am reminded that America is a great place, and that Britain accidentally got healthcare, as you said, on accident one time, and that's basically all they have going for them. And as I watch people defend the Queen and flags come down at half-mast here, which I was pretty sure we fought quite a few wars about this so that we didn't have to do that. And you can say, well, she was a nice woman, but she was the queen. She inherits all the things that have to do with the queen. So in that spirit, and in the spirit of America, and just to make it topical, because I like a little pun, my tag is Lizzie's in a box, but you know, with an
Lizzie's in a
extra
box.
X
Holy smokes.
on the
All
end.
right. I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10 for that. It doesn't bring you up, but it does make you look a little nicer on the overlay. 07 right there. What a game. What a competition. We've got fierce competitors here. They go down swinging and they're bitter, and some good times were had. But our winner is, of course, the Crimson Blur. So what's going to happen now?
I have a Slippy name if the children in the chat want to put earmuffs on.
Oh, yeah. Children in the chat, put earmuffs on.
All melee
Children in the
players here,
chat.
Blur.
Put earmuffs on,
Fob
children. This is
You
not
have
an
fob
adult
now?
stream.
You should be slob on my fob.
that
Like corn on the cuff. Like corn on the cuff. Slob on my fob. That's a good one.
Oh, that's actually amazing.
I
Put
have
it back
heard
on
that.
69. Don't give me more points. Put it back to 69.
You want? All right. He wants to stay at 69. We'll take it. All right, we need to briefly take a little production break as we get the free-for-all. The Crimson Blur will commentate as Toph, Chroma, and Juggleguy go to Fourside to have a free-for-all to decide who is the best at Melee of the shitty pundits. We'll be right back.
Is there a-
What's up?
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right, so Jack's had to kill himself first.
I mean, you guys could go at it.
I want the
I'm gonna-
building. I want the building. I'm over here.
All right,
has
have you
it
muted?
started?
Let me mute all the competitors, and then it's just the Blur. Blur, this is your platform now.
I hit.
Uh-huh.
What do you want to talk about? You get to talk about whatever you'd like for the whole duration of this this Fourside fight.
This is beautiful. I love being able to be able to commentate without any other co-commentator mucking up, my commentary. Really, we should let me solo more often. Also, are they 2v1ing Juggleguy just straight up? They're doing team combos. Like, these guys want to win. They should go on the UFO. If they don't want the UFO, they're cowards.
Blur, is there anything that you want to shout out or rant about now that nobody can interrupt you? Got anything to plug?
Let me see. What do I have to plug?
Anything to pontificate on?
Any pontifications, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, first of all, I want to pontificate on the fact that this show was really well run. I was shocked at how well run it was. It was so well run, I was disturbed. I've never run something this well in my entire life.
Thank you, Blur. I can't give you any more points.
Yeah, like run a show and you hosted. And you did a good job. I was impressed.
Thank you. We're trying. We hope the viewers liked it too.
I think they did. Okay, can I make a hard read here?
Yeah.
I think one of the Foxes is going to win. I think it's karma for Juggleguy going out and calling me the worst player ever.
I think last time the winner...
I don't think he even said it himself. I don't think he's better than me right now.
Yeah. Is the worst player Juggleguy?
That's a good question, right?
What has Juggleguy done? He's most famous for getting beat by Mewtwo King.
No, to be fair, Juggleguy, he has won 2 sets against Duck. But that was when Duck was bad.
Yeah. Everybody's can beat anybody when they're bad.
Yeah. Dude,
who have you beat?
Soldier go.
Maybe the person you beat is the worst player by the transitive property.
I don't like calling people out. See, if I ever become, top player, I'd be. Oh my God, look at Toph.
When you become a top player, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be the most gracious. I'd be so gracious.
You'd be the most gracious.
The most gracious.
Nobody else has ever seen anybody as gracious as you.
As gracious, yeah, that's right. That's probably the opposite of what'll happen, but dude, the Universal Soldier. The Universal Soldier. Of course he wins.
Juggleguy Toph.
Unless dude, the wall jumping gets broken. Oh, look at the knee. It's last stock.
Who's got it?
I think it's Toph. You get 1 shine and it's insane on this stage. Plus, can't you just camp this little side platform and just ledge dash?
Ooh.
Yeah, he's just doing it. He's just ledge dashing. Oh my gosh. It's shine infinite. Man, these people, they don't know how to play on the band stages anymore. You're supposed to shine infinite in the corner there. It's just shine wave dash down.
That was an incredible recovery. Sorry to take your time.
Juggleguy's on 11%. Don't worry about it. Toph's winning. Unless Toph has D's. That's the only chance Juggleguy has. I hope he didn't mute me so he hears this as he's playing. That would really, really just be amazing. I think that's what happened.
All right, that is our show. Let me unmute the people. Hey, welcome back.
Good game, Juggleguy.
Well done.
Congratulations to the winner of the melee side of the battle.
Juggleguy 20. Yeah,
second place overall.
Out. Dude, I haven't done that in 10 years. Holy shit.
I was like,
Really
wait,
took me back.
you can do that? What?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it forever,
invincible.
though. You lose height. You get to the point where you don't gain height.
You can do that, and you can especially do that on Fourside. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a wonderful episode. I hope to have some of y'all back when you can and when we ask you to. We're going to be doing this as long as we can. So we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next Fourside fight. Congratulations to our winner, the Crimson Blur, and the winner of Melee, Toph. See y'all soon.
Played.